Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever in the world it is that you are. Welcome once more to another live stream of Alexandra Mayer's Live, page by page reading and commentary of the Bible, Modern English Version. So today we are going to go into Exodus 32, which revolves around the golden calf. This is actually one of the pinnacle scenes in the Charleston Heston rendition of the story of Moses, that movie. And it's for those of you who haven't been keeping up with the Bible readings, God has given Moses on stone tablets the 10 Commandments. Okay. So the Hebrew people who not too long ago, considering where we are in the Bible, were, liberated themselves from slavery within Egypt. They're setting up their society. They've been given, their commandments. Moses' father-in-law helped him put together laws for the people. They're creating kind of a rudimentary judicial system even. They're setting up their temple, the tabernacle. Everything seems to be coming together, right? But then this happens. So we're going to go through this. I will share my commentary as I see fit. And keep in mind, at this point, God is within the vicinity physically of the people. He's somehow perched upon Mount Sinai, and the only person who can hang out with God is Moses. Nobody else. There's even boundaries as far as how close they can get to the mountain. It's very exciting. It makes me wonder exactly what the people of Israel would have seen with God being on that mountain. It's described as there being like a mist, a fog, a cloud. But what else? What else? That would have been such an exciting time to be alive. All right. So let's go. Exodus 32, the golden calf. Now, when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered themselves together around Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us gods, which will go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." Okay, so Moses apparently was up on that mountain hanging out with God a bit longer than he normally would have. And you know what? Honestly, these people who he pulled out of slavery, in my opinion at least, have never been grateful enough. They complained when they were in the desert. They complained about so many things, and now they're complaining just because Moses took some extra time up on the mountain, and they don't have faith that he's going to come back down, even though they did witness him part the sea. That wasn't enough. I'll tell you. Aaron said to them, "Break off the gold earrings that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me." So all the people broke off the gold earrings that were in the ears and brought them to Aaron. He received them from their land and fashioned it with an engraving tool and made it into a molded calf. And Aaron should have known better than to do this. God already let these people know, hey, don't create any graven images. It's just about me now. And I don't need a statue, but they didn't listen. Then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow will be a feast to the Lord." So, maybe Aaron wanted to appease the people by making this golden cow. I'm not sure. They did just create all those items for the tabernacle when I think about it. if you listen to the earlier readings that I did the past couple of days, it went over all the instructions for the tabernacle items. So maybe they were just kind of stuck in that rut of making all these items anyway, that they figured, hey, Moses is taking a long time and the people are getting restless. What's it going to hurt to create some sort of an avatar that's the representation of God? But still, they shouldn't have done it. So they rose up early on the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Go and get down, for your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves." So God knew right away when this happened. They have quickly turned aside from the way which I commanded them. They have made for themselves a molded calf and have worshipped it and have sacrificed to it and said, "This is your God, O Israel, which has brought you up from the land of Egypt." Yeah, so God didn't like that. Now, I wonder why Moses was up on the mountain with God longer than normal. But then again, God had instructions to give him and things like that. And since when was there a time frame? I don't recall there ever being a time frame as far as how long Moses was on the mountain. But still, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that this happened. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I have seen the people, and certainly it is a stiff-necked people. Now, therefore, let me alone, so that my wrath may burn against them, and I may destroy them. And I will make of you a great nation." But Moses sought the favor of the Lord his God and said, "Lord, why does your wrath burn against your people, whom you have brought forth from the land of Egypt with a great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians speak, saying, 'With evil intent he brought them out to kill them in the mountains and destroy them from the face of the earth'? Turn your fierce wrath and, and relent of this harm against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you swore by yourself and said to them, 'I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heavens. And all this land that I have spoken of will I give to your descendants, and they will inherit it forever.' Then the Lord relented of the harm which he had said he would do to his people." Good. So Moses had the capability of calming God down, which is interesting when you really think about it. What an interesting conversation. This is actually, when I think about it, one of the most interesting conversations between man, human, and God. It's so physical. It's the kind of conversation that even a boss and an employee might have today when it comes to punishing other workers in the company. You know, it was something about Moses that God valued the opinion of, which really makes God more relatable to me than I think ever before. Yes, God knows everything. God knows what's going to happen before it happens and whatnot. Always did before, he even created Adam and Eve. But still, this conversation, God's kind of like, you know what? I've had it yet again. I've done all this. And the people are just, I'm just going to destroy them. Which is why I do like the Old Testament version of the God the best. I really do. Because I get so angry and frustrated in life too. You look at what you do for people, how you help them, and they're never grateful. Just selfish. But anyway, Moses was a very calming presence to God. And I like that. I do like that. which is why he created Moses. God knew that he needed to be calmed down, so he created his own remedy to the issue. All right, so let's continue. Moses turned and went down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of testimony in his hand. And these are the 10 commandments he's got with him. The tablets were written on both their sides. They were written on one side and the other. The tablets were God's work, and the writing was God's writing, engraved on the tablets. When Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said to Moses, "There is a sound of war in the camp." But he said, "It's not the sound of those who shout for victory, nor is it the sound of those who cry because of being overcome, but I hear the sound of singing." So the people were partying. As soon as he came near the camp, he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger burned. So he threw the tablets from his hands and shattered them at the bottom of the mountain. Oh, see? So he was able to calm down God, but maybe Moses was a bit of an empath and he absorbed some of God's anger. I mean, imagine how wonderful it would be if we had intact today those tablets. We would know what God's writing looked like. Maybe people would care a bit more about the commandments and abide by them a bit more. But Moses was so angry because he put so much work into these people on behalf of God. And the people, they just couldn't wait for him to come down the mountain. Instead, Aaron has to betray him to an extent, make this golden calf. And then they have to, go and create essentially a rave, a party. And they just couldn't live their lives halfway conservatively at this one particular time. It's a shame. All right, so let's continue. Then he took the calf, which they had made, and burned it in the fire, ground it to powder, and scattered it on the water, and made the children of Israel drink it. Yep. Moses said to Aaron, "What did this people do to you that you have brought so great a sin upon them?" Aaron said, "Do not let the anger of my Lord burn. You know that the people are set on evil. For they said to me, 'Make a god for us, which will go before us.' For this Moses, the man that brought us from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. I said to them, 'Whoever has any gold, let them break it off.' So they gave it to me, and then I threw it into the fire, and this calf came out." So Aaron's not even taking accountability. Wow. Now, when Moses saw the people were in a frenzy, for Aaron had let them get completely out of control, causing derision from their enemies, then Moses stood in the gate of the camp and said, "Whoever is on the Lord's side, come to me." And all the Levites gathered themselves together around him. He said to them, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, every man fasten his sword on his side and go back and forth from gate to gate throughout the camp, and let every man kill his brother, and every man his friend, and every man his neighbor." Ooh. The Levites did according to the word of Moses, and about 3,000 men from the people died that day. Oh, so here we are back to the violence. But that's what happens when you don't abide by what God has instructed. And what's so interesting to me is that these people actually witnessed firsthand with their own 2 eyes the miracles. Maybe miracles were just too common in those times. But that's what you get. That's what they get. Death. For Moses had said, consecrate yourselves today to the Lord, that he may bestow a blessing on you this day. For every man opposes his son and his brother. On the next day, Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin. And now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. So Moses, at this point, he's just like, you know what? I'm going to go hang out with God again. I don't even want to be around you. And hello, Gary. Welcome. Welcome to this morning's reading. We're getting started a little bit earlier today. Then Moses returned to the Lord and said, oh, this people has committed a great sin and have made a god of gold for themselves. Yet now, if you will forgive their sin, but if not, I pray, blot me out of your book, which you have written. So Moses knew that he needed to go and report back to God everything that happened. Now, God already knew. He knew that this was going to happen. And again, we have to go back to this conversation between Moses and God when Moses calmed God down. Because maybe, just maybe, God was kind of acting there. And he was acting angry to see how Moses would react, because he knew that when Moses went down that mountain himself and he saw those people, trying to party it up and whatnot, going against everything that Moses had taught them, that he himself would get angry, meaning Moses. And Moses did kind of overreact by breaking those tablets. He shouldn't have done that, but everything's meant to be. But Moses got to see the reaction of God when it came to the situation. And Moses probably left initially when he was delivering those commandments to the people, saying, oh, I calmed God down. Yeah, I've got it together. But then he saw all the ruckus that they were, in the midst of. Okay, so let's finish up. Then the Lord said to Moses, whoever has sinned against me, I will blot him out of my book. So go now. Lead the people to the place of which I have spoken to you. Indeed, my angel will go before you. Nevertheless, in the day when I punish, I will indeed punish them for their sin. And the Lord plagued the people because they had made the calf, the one that Aaron made. Oh, so that's the end of Exodus 32. It is interesting that Aaron did allow the people to have that calf, because he was Moses's right-hand man. He'd been with Moses all that time when Moses didn't think that he had the capability to communicate to the Pharaoh to let his people go. Aaron knew pretty much everything that Moses knew about the mission for the people who were enslaved in Egypt, the Hebrew people. But at the end, Aaron probably didn't want to be seen as a harsh, stick in the mud overseer. So he let them have that golden calf. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it. And, in a weird way, this is a good lesson for parents. Parents, you cannot always give in to your children's whining and pleading for whatever it is that they want. Sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture and think to yourself, okay, what's going to be good for them in the long run? And even though they may complain, do what's best for them. And if you want to find instructions for what's best for your kids, read the Bible. Just a thought. So anyway, tomorrow we will go into Exodus 33, the command to leave Sinai, and we'll go from there. Thank you for those of you who are listening live today for joining me, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.